Okay, so our presentation today is talking about best practices for the life of a job using PSA Web. And we're starting off here with, we're sitting on our job screen, and we may have a variety of you from using different platforms, but the information we're looking at today, we're going to be focusing mostly right here within PSA Web. Okay, so the information that we are going to be tracking within our jobs are going to provide you with great reporting information. And so I'm going to be kind of stepping through the creation of a job and some of the key parts that are going to be giving you the best reporting possible afterwards, okay? So we are going to start off with the actual creation of a job. Okay, and we have the ability to pull up and create one from scratch, or in this case, I'm just going to grab a previous customer that I have in the system. And I have the option to automatically fill in the address fields, and everything is populated with their phone number, the email from the previous job that we did for this customer. We're going to make sure that we select our job type. On this screen, obviously, there's the option of selecting a subtype if necessary. Pick our location, building type, and one thing that's very important for you to be able to run your referral reports is to choose your referral source. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to choose a previous customer in this case. So that's a key thing. Good chance you're on the phone talking to the customer when you're filling out this kind of quick entry screen. Right? Another thing you're going to capture is also very important is your loss description. So in this particular case, we'll say that there was a flooded basement, and we have the ability to add, let's just say we put some more information in here. We've got a second note field here that I'm going to add that we have say the neighbor has a key. So we've got one other little note field that you can add any additional information. Both loss description and note fields are going to create log notes for you. And we've got everything filled in here. And again, just a note at the bottom here, if you see anything appearing in here after you put your address in, it's indicating that there's a current open job for the same address. So in this case, we did have a previous customer, but that is a closed job, so it's not appearing down here. So just an indicator safeguard. The save option does have give you the ability to just stay on the screen and save, jump over to add some more information, or get right into the schedule. So we have this customer here that we need to immediately get a crew dispatched out for this emergency. So I'm going to click Save and Schedule. Okay, so we jump over here. We've come to our tech view. Here we are on today's date. We're taking a look to see who's available. So this will be the list of all of your technicians that are set up, and we can see who is available to send out right now. And we decide here that we're going to, so this is for the Taylor Smith job, so we'll put put a subject in here, and we'll set it up. We're going to send out Deb. We're going to use her as our inspector, and let's say we need her to get out there as soon as she's available, so we'll plot it in for 3 o'clock here. Okay, and get that set right here, and we'll change this to give her a couple of hours there. Okay, so we've got the date set for our technician, and we're going to go down here. We're going to add her onto the job. Actually, we're going to click on, so when you're on the calendar, to quickly find just the people that are employees, we're going to use the wrench, and let's just see if we can find her in here. She's already, okay, we're going to pick her anyways for this job. And the work order, and we'll just have a note here, take Okay, So we can add a little note that's going to go into this email. We hit save, and Deb is going to receive this email. Now, so that's why it's giving me a problem before. We're just going to say it's okay. She's going to go from one job to the next. So we're going to have her just transfer right over to the next one from the other site. Okay. All right. So that's been scheduled. She'll get the email. She'll be knowing she has to go to that next job as soon as she finishes. So we're going to go back to list. We'll have our brand new job in sight here. We're now needing to go in and add the additional information that we need to put in that is applicable here. So we've got all of the address. We can, at this point, if there's nothing else that we need to know, let's say we find out that actually Taylor's, this is going to be maybe an insurance job. So I just want to give you that example. If we did want to do that at this point, we could change the customer name to the insurance company name. So I'm just going to give you an example of that. So if we were adding an insurance job, that's being put in here. Some of you are Canadian customers on this session, and some of you are American. So in Canada, we do send our invoices actually to the insurance. So we've got that set as the billing address for Allstate. And of course, in that situation, we would have a claim number and a policy number. So let me just put a number in for the policy and a claim number as well. And we're going to save that. Okay, so you can see that the loss address that was put in, the loss description is appearing at the top. And let's move over and get the other important critical information to go into your job, which is dates. And I can't stress this enough. Dates are the key to making sure that all of your jobs are being identified at what stage they are within PSA, and feeding them, of course, into all of your reports as well. So we've got a receive date that automatically went in when I created this job. And we are going to go in and add in the other dates. So in the conversation with Taylor Smith, she advised that the loss happened earlier today. So we'll just go in and record the time that she had reported it to us. And let's go in. She also had contacted her insurance company shortly after. And we actually are going to say that the contacted date is going to be when we were speaking with her and we were able to get it dispatched. We didn't have to have a separate call to her. So the contacted date is typically meaning that the customer has been discussed with as far as the date and time for the dispatch of the crew to go out there. So let's just save this as the same as our, okay. All right, so that's every date so far. If you look in the drop-down list, these are all going to be in order in which they're going to be happening. So so again, as I mentioned earlier, Deb's going out to this job site, and when she completes the inspection, we expect that she will be updating the job with the inspection information. Save that. And then next important information that we want to make sure is always on a job is adding the people that are connected to the job. So we want to know who's in charge of the job. So who is going to be our project manager? So I'm going to actually select my name in here. Okay, there's the project manager identified, and we're going to go and grab Deb and we'll add her as the estimator. So all of the key people, and each one of these different employee types can be identified, which can be then pulled into other items within PSA, like log notes and also forms. The types can also be used as reference from within workflows as well. Okay. Over on the right, we can see that we have other types of relationships that we could add. So we have the ability to go in and look through all of the companies. So you could possibly, if you had a subtrade doing this work, you might want to be adding that particular company. In this situation, I made a note that this was going to be an insurance job. So if we have the adjuster's name, we're going to jump over. You can see we have no company right now. I'm going to click on the contact, and we're going to go find the insurance adjuster. And so again, we're going to assume that when we were talking with our customer, they told us who the adjuster was. And that is Just 1 second here. There it is, Ted. Okay, and his type came up. We'll add that person. So now we have recorded that Ted is our adjuster, and you'll notice on the company, it also pulled in his insurance company. So if you had contact information on either of those, you would be able to pull it up from this screen by clicking the edit button, and it gives it good information that's accessible for anybody that's referring to this job. All right, we're going to click save, and next thing that is, I just want to show you the notes information. Okay, so this job here has if you look at the very bottom, we have, I'm just going to click on general notes. These are the 2 key topics that will be considered general notes, and these automatically got created when the job was created from our create button. It also, if this was added through the mobile app, they would also come into here as these types of notes. If I wanted to create a new note now, let me show you by setting up templates and the relationships like I've done for this job. I'm able to go in here, and remember I've only at this point given Deb, who's our inspector in this case, to go out to the job site. She only has the address. So now we've got some more information that we'd like to give to her. So I'm just going to show you by having some templates set up for an insurance job as this example. It double checks, do I want to add this? I'm going to say yes. And you can see here that it's populated my topic, my subject, and it's pre-filled in the body of my note. So what it's showing here is all the details of the adjuster's name and phone number. It's also pulled in the loss description, the other note that we added as well, and the full address again, which she would already have the address, but the other information she wouldn't have. Now, I can go down over here to the email recipient. Because I've taken a second to add in the people on the relationships tab, I now have a quick way of pulling them into my notes. So I'm going to click on my little wrench here, which is my indicator that it's an employee. There's the 2 people that are assigned. I don't need to send it to, we could send it to both, or we could just send it to one. And we could take one off if we wanted to. And when we click save, then the designated people are going to receive this email. We can add additional notes onto the bottom of here as necessary. Okay. All right. And we'll save. Excellent. Okay. So that is just an overview of those key fields that we want to make sure that you enter in, how you can use those important fields as well within the notes. And again, looking at the timeline, you're going to be able to see those dates that have happened so far. And you notice there is this large green item here is the work order. So when I automatically jumped over to schedule that brand new job, it was automatically, there is an internal work order that gets created, and it's sitting there, and that's the date that we scheduled it for, so that's why it's sitting there. So all work orders will be able to be viewed from this timeline screen. So let's fast forward. Let's say that the inspection has been completed, and the steps that are going to happen at this point in time are going to be that there will be, so the inspection, one of the steps would be obviously person coming in here, adding the inspected date, and we can say that this is done, save. So now we have an inspection done. We have an idea at this point what our estimated value is going to be for our job. So what we're going to do now is we're going to, next recommended practice is to jump into the actual work order. So a work order is generated automatically for every job that's created. So we're going to click on the jobs menu and open up the work order. So this is that work order. No details had to be added in. You could very well, though, before it was scheduled, you could have come in here and added in as many notes and descriptions of the work to be done prior for the person who was going on site. For the inspection, we just dispatched it immediately so they could just get on site, and no details were added. But at this point, we could definitely come in and we could add some additional information. So I'm going to use the existing work order, and I'm just going to put in here the estimated amount. Okay, so we've got a temporary, we haven't got the official estimate done yet. So we're going to just put in, let's say we are thinking this will be about $1,000. So that's our estimate. And the margin that is showing here is what this training company I'm using right now is the expected gross margin that we would like to achieve for this type of job. So this is an emergency water job, and we are hoping that we're going to make a 55% margin. So if this is our estimated revenue for the job, as soon as I move off that field, it's automatically coming up with our estimated cost. So based on a 55% margin, we need to keep our actual cost down below $450 in order to achieve our target margin. Okay, so we have now just gone in, I've typed this quick description, put in the price, and I've saved it. So what we've generated here is our estimated revenue and our estimated cost. And you can see that at the bottom of the screen. Okay. So after the actual estimate is completed, we would be going back into that work order and modifying this to the actual if the estimate ends up being different than this number. And so obviously would be reviewed, and if we have an approval date to proceed with the work, we would be going back into the dates of the job. So to get quickly back to the job, we're going to click on the job name in the top right corner. And we're going to come back. Here's our dates again. And we're going to go in. And again, there are other, you can use every single date. In this particular case, if we didn't click on that, I could jump and just put the approved date in and time. And we'll just say now. Okay. So each one of these dates, not each one, but a lot of them are actual dates that are going to trigger the stage of the job. So actually, before I put the approved date, let me just do a save. And we're going to take a look at our job listing. Okay, so back at the job listing, let's just take a look at this stage here before we add in the approved date from the customer. So here's our Taylor Smith job, and you see this column here that's showing stage. So if there are any of you that are attending this Lunch and Learn session that haven't seen the stage column showing up on your job listing, that is something that is a fairly new feature that's been added. And every individual user who logs in can customize this job lookup screen to add in whatever columns you want to see on this screen. And that can be found inside of your user settings menu. At the end of this session, before we wind up and go to questions, I will show you where several of the items that I've displayed for you, where they can be found in the settings menu. Okay. So at this point, the stage is scoped. The stage is what you will see, and it'll be referred to in your job management reports and also on our control center. So I'm just going to pop open and show you the control center briefly before we add the approved date on. And I'm going to keep this screen open, and I'm going to open the control center on a different tab of my browser. So you can have multiple tabs in your browser running. One recommendation I find is very handy is to have a tab open maybe with your schedule. So if you are, a person whose job involves continually working with that schedule, that might be another tab that you might just want to, you can quickly jump over and see that, and then you can jump back to your other screens. Okay, so I've got 3 tabs running now, and I did that by doing a right mouse click, and I choose Open Link in New Tab. Okay, so in the Control Center, let's take a look at this for a second. Lovely colorful bubbles at the top are showing the different stages. So at this point, remember the job that we are working on for Taylor Smith we have it's not been approved yet, but if we haven't put in the completed, the estimate completed date, it won't be in pending. So at this point, I believe that one, correctly, we should be seeing it down here, yes. So it's sitting in this stage at this point, considering to be a scoped job, and it would be moving to a pending job if the estimated complete, the estimate was complete, date was put in. Once we put the approved, customer approved date, it moves to the stage of approved. Once we put in an actual start date, it moves to work in process. Once we add an actual complete date, it moves to the complete stage. Once it's been invoiced, it moves to not paid, and hopefully it's not sitting in not paid very long. And once it's paid, then it's not listed across the top of the screen anymore, okay? As an open job. Okay, so that is one of the screens that is showing you the stages, and that again is controlled by keeping your jobs up to date with your date. So we're going to go in here now and move this from pending to approved. Okay, we'll just say now, done, and save. Okay, so we've got it approved, and of course, once the customer, we've got an actual start date, we're just going to go ahead and add an actual start date as well here, just to move this job along the schedule. Okay. All right. The process of moving the job between one step to the other can be definitely manually added by the person doing it. We have a workflow module that allows you to set up a workflow triggering the next stage of the job to happen by either a date could be triggering. So once a date is it's put in, it could trigger an email to go to a person that next step is required, and it will give them information on what has to be done to complete that particular step. So if I was to look right now on the Taylor Smith job, and look under the workflow, you can see that there is a workflow that's running in the background here, and automatically when a new job was received, there was a kind of an expectation that you can see under the due column. Within 1 hour, typically we have to make sure that we've contacted that customer and let them know, and arranged for an on-site visit. And you can see this was done within the time frame, and it's marked as completed. So anytime you're on a job, you can see the status of your workflows of that particular job here. And we can also go to that control center, which is the tab at the top I've got running, and we can jump to our workflows here. And we can also see all of the workflows for all jobs. So this is more of a screen where management might be coming to look at all the jobs across the system. And if they wanted to focus on what's going on, that we have 17 past due workflows, they can click this and it filters the screen just to show these. And we can see here that there's a bunch of jobs that obviously got put in with the receive date, but no contacted date has been put in. So that's just an example of a task that was to be done and it wasn't completed. You can actually, if you know this particular job is, if we wanted to go to the job, we can click on the status, and one little click over here will jump us to this job. And we can see, okay, this job was for Daniel Ramsey. We can take a look and we could, refer, look at the log notes, look at the dates, determine what was, was this job actually completed? And if we did determine, yes, that that particular job is the date should have been put in that the customer was contacted, we can double click. Let me just make sure everybody saw that. We can double click right underneath the action, right here from the control center, open up the workflow action, and this is coming up here expecting us to put in a contacted date. Okay, so it filled in today's date and time, and it's wanting us as well to put an explanation why this was not put in on time. So again, I'm just going to put in here little note and click Save. Now that job is dropped off from the past due and it's taken care of. So that's a quick way to do a cleanup from here if there is a couple of things that didn't get updated properly, or also to go and jump into the job to do some more research on what's going on with it. Okay. All right. So we have reports as well that we want to take a look at now with our information. So I'm going to, actually before we jump to reports, sorry, let's go back here. I've got a job here that I put in for Jesse Jacob. So I'm going to click Edit to open up that job for a second. And we're going to take a look at this particular job. So if we went to, I'm going to go to the financials. So this financial screen lets you see in the center of the this initial total screen, we have the estimated numbers. So we could see in this job there was a $375 estimated value on the job, and we also had an estimate on some labor. So we had $168.75. Okay. Just one second here. Okay, sorry, wrong job. Let me go back to the job for a second here. We're going to go and look up Joanne Hassel job. Okay, so on this initial screen, yeah, we have $1,200 estimated revenue. We can see that from our first screen. And by the way, there's some new security that's just been added that you can actually password protect the estimated revenue from being visible, if anybody's interested in that. And we're going to take a look at the, actually, I'm going to open up the work order for a second here. So you can see here on this particular job, this was our estimate for this job. We had $1,200 of an estimated value for the emergency services. We had a 55% margin with a budget for this job of $540. And now we're going to go and look at the financial screen, which is, again, the estimate column is what I just showed you on the work order. And in the actuals, we can see what has actually happened. So we have in this particular job, we've issued the invoice for $1,200. And we can see that there's some actual time cards that have come against this. So the invoices shows us that we have issued it. It's still owing, nothing is paid. And if we go to the costs, we can see that there was some time card entries that were put in. With the time card, again, and their good practice is there is a note field when each person is clocking out of a job, having them kind of trained to put in a little note of what they actually did do as far as the work on that particular task comes through and is visible in here as well as on the actual cost report. So that's good information to know exactly what was happening in addition to seeing that there was 3 hours spent on the job. Okay. So that information has flowed through here. And I would like to now show you two reports. I'm going to show you the job management report. And we'll just go into this one. So again, just taking a look at all locations, and we'll just okay. I'm going to go back here, and if we look at Joanne Hassel's job here, so it's in a stage of completed. Okay, so from here, so we'll go back to the report. This report has 7 pages of information for this report that I ran, for the criteria I ran. I'm going to click on the button here that lets us just scroll down through. And if I go down here, so it's taking a second to come up. One of the other little tips here, if I knew I wanted to go just to really see how Joanne Hassel's job was looking, and you've run a report and it's many, many pages, one other little tip you can do is you can use this little search, And you could put in even the job number, so 0092, click that, and then we'll immediately jump to the page which contains that particular job. So when we click the down, okay, try that again. Okay, of course it's not going to work for me right now. Okay, well, that little search does work. Maybe it's just the way that I've already been scrolling through here. So we've got received, scoped, pending, and let's go up here. Oh, you know what? I have the dates that I put into this job. That's why she didn't come up when I did a search. Let me go back to the report criteria. 1 second here. And let's just go to job management. Actually, you know what? Let's go back into the active and we'll just run that report again. And we'll just look at the Taylor job. Okay, this is how the results will come up. They'll show all the matching criteria for anything that you type in, any partial part of it. There it says page 7 for Taylor. So a nice little shortcut there to get you quickly to the page where that job is, because this was running for multiple locations. And Taylor Smith's job was in a sales mode where the customer had approved it. We had not put an actual completion or an actual start date in, so it's not into the WIP area yet. There's Taylor's job. And you can see over here, if I were to just make this a little bit larger so everybody can see. So we've got the columns across the top here are letting you see that you've got your estimated and actual revenues, if it's been paid, estimated versus actual cost. Okay, so Taylor's down here with the $1,000 here of estimated revenue and your $530 of estimated costs. Okay, and at this point there's no actuals. Okay, so if you had got a job with the actuals, you're going to be able to look at the gross margin percent of actual versus estimate. And remember, I said how important it was to do your referrals. So if we go to the referral report and we view this one. So depending on what information you put in onto the job, so if I went and said I wanted to see all my previous customers, and again, you could put in, based on a date, you can put a date range in. So if I wanted everything that happened in the month of October, and submit, this is the one that's come up. And the revenue that's on here is only going to show actual. Okay, so this is Taylor's job, and we didn't have any actuals on that one yet. Okay. All right, so that referral report will give you the totals then by each referrer. Okay, so at this point in time, I am going to open up the question and period. So let me just take a look here. Chat, okay. All right, so I'm going to go, the question here from Michelle. She's asking, is the stage also viewable on the desktop? Okay. That stage name, Michelle, is not, you can customize definitely your columns in PSA Desktop, but it doesn't, I don't believe the stage is a saved word that's actually appearing on there. So what you have available to show in those columns on the desktop is just whatever's in the drop-down list right on that screen. Okay. Right. Now, is there any other questions that anybody wants to put into the chat window? Okay, not seeing anyone. The one other, I just might highlight then, if there's no other questions, a couple of the newer features, and I also wanted to show you where you can add in to the log note templates and do the customization for your user settings. I'll show everybody where that is. So just before I get into the settings menu, we do have the equipment set up here. So if we go to this job, just see if there's any equipment that I put on here. Okay, so if any equipment's assigned to the job in the field or from the equipment menu here, that anything that's assigned will appear while you have the job open under equipment to show you the highlight of that information, as well as reports are available. Okay, and under the settings menu, there is a user settings. So this should be activated for each, like administrators should allow a user to be able to go in to modify their own user settings. And when they do come into this area, this is where that user could set up their own signature. So you can see I've got my signature set up. Down underneath the jobs is where you can now go into this configure their job lookup columns. So this is where you can go to put a check mark on the column. So there's my stage that I've added. You can, if you were to, I've got estimated revenue highlighted. If I wanted that to actually appear between a couple of other columns, you can actually pick that up and drag and drop and put it where you want it to go. You can remove a column by just unchecking any of the check marks. And of course, you've got your sorting defaults to the right there. Okay, and underneath the settings menu and company settings, this would be an administrator setup underneath your jobs. And inside of here, you have your options to set up. Sorry, it's under relationships. We're looking for where we set up those log note templates. So edit note templates is here. And the one that I had created that I showed you earlier was this job information for insurance. Okay. And we have, this is what so you can set that up inside of here. If there's anybody that has any questions on how to set up a template or questions about using it, feel free to just give our support line a call and one of the trainers will get together with you. I'd set up another automatic template as well to fill in. And this template is information that's required if somebody's going to be doing invoicing. So this particular one here, I'm going to, so this is where templates are set up. And that was underneath the company settings and under relationships. But under jobs, if we go down here, this is where the workflows were set up. So I had shown you that there was a workflow task that was on that one job. So this is where workflows are defined. So I had just a couple of them set up for emergency water. Again, training is available for anyone looking at adding workflows. I just wanted to show you this one that I have here. This emergency water is set up, and you can see that you can use templates right even in here to pull in to automatically fill in the notes. And this one is based on when an actual completion date goes in, we want it to automatically send an email to a particular person to let them know that the invoicing needs to be done. Okay, so that is set up in there. And so the templates kind of get created. They can be used in notes as well as within your workflows. Okay. All right. Any other questions from anyone? Okay. Now I've still got everybody on mute. So is there, if anybody wants to ask a question without typing it in, just send me a quick message and I'll unmute you. Okay. All right. So I might just, we just have another 2 minutes here. I'll just give you one more little bit of information on, let me just open up the job that we had done together for Taylor. So the dates. Okay. Just want to make sure as well for best practices, everybody understands what the dates indicate. So the actual completion date, I had shown that on the control center, that is going to mean that your crews, everybody is finished on the site. And that is usually quite often a trigger that is going to send an automatic email then to the person who's going to be doing your invoicing. And that, in the case of my workflow, that when that invoice date got entered into PSA, that marked that task was completed. And the other date that is a key date, especially for those of you that are using PSA Desktop, is the production close date. And that is quite often entered in a week or so, or maybe more after the invoice. And the project manager at that point should be reviewing the job, making sure that there's no last minute bills that came in from any sub-trades or materials or something, that everything, the gross margin percent looks accurate and complete. And that's an indicator for those of you that are using PSA Desktop that you could do an actual closing on that job and process it through to through your WIP process. Okay. All right. So there's a quiet bunch today. There's no other questions. So I will wish you all a good afternoon, and we'll be talking to you again soon. Bye for now.